There are 5 critical mistakes that prevent the average Shopify store from ever making a single sale. It took me well over 7 years and $25 million in e-commerce sales to fully comprehend these mistakes. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing what those 5 mistakes are with you so that you can avoid them and you don't have to go through the 7 years of painful trial and error that I did to learn these same lessons. And these aren't the normal mistakes you've heard in normal blog posts and other YouTube videos. These are the kind of mistakes that you won't realize until it's way too late and you've already hamstrung yourself from success. And be sure to watch all the way until the very end because any one of these mistakes can end up costing you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales and years of painful trial and error, like what I did. The number one mistake is one that impacts every single user that visits your website, and that is your site speed. Now, I know this term gets tossed around a lot, so let's answer what is your site speed, why does it matter, and how can we improve it? Your site speed is, simply put, how fast your website loads from the time that somebody clicks on your ad to they're actually able to shop on your website. And obviously, we want that to be quick because we don't like people waiting, but how impactful is it really? A detailed study done by Amazon found that their conversion rate increased by 17% for every 1 second that they shaved off their site speed. So if they had a 10-second increase to their site speed, it's a 170% increase to their conversion rate. That means that if they were able to improve their site speed by just 2 seconds, they saw a 35% bump to their conversion rate. The reason that really matters is that a bump to your conversion rate is also equal to a bump in your return on ad spend. Because if you're converting 35% more people, means you're getting 35 more purchases to attribute to your ads. But the really tricky thing about the site speed and why this matters so much is that it's a rather elusive thing that can kind of get away from us as we're building out our stores. Because you see, every time that we build a new product page or upload new product photos, or better yet, install a new app or tracking software, all of those things deteriorate our site speed. The reason being is that everything that we add to our store is one more object that needs to be loaded every time a new customer comes to your site. Now, the ways that we improve our site speed are, number one, we monitor it. We check this on a weekly basis using a tool called Google Lighthouse. It's free to use and it gives you a really in-depth analysis of how your site speed is faring against your competitors. Number two is we decrease the file size of our product pictures by using an application called CrushPix. It's not an affiliate promotion of any kind, but I've been using it for years and it works perfectly. And all that it does is it intakes all of your product photos and basically reduces the file size so that anytime you have a customer viewing your product page, instead of them having to wait for a giant product picture to load, it loads lightning quick. And our product photos have been one of the biggest culprits when it comes to a bad site speed in our experience. And the last thing that we do, and the most straightforward, is we make sure that we are constantly removing any apps that are not in use on our site. And this is one that requires a little bit of discipline, but on a very weekly basis, you should be checking every app in your store and making sure that you are only continuing to have apps that you are actively using. There's no room at all within your Shopify store for old apps that are just sitting around taking up space, or even worse yet, rebilling you and not really being used. But every one of those apps has a bad impact on your site speed. So the less apps, the better. And now moving on to the next critical mistake is one that Shopify almost sets you up for. It's almost like they want you to make this mistake, and that is optimizing for desktop. Now, on one of my first stores, when I was building it, I was spending way too much time picking out the perfect apps and color schemes, and it was like the most beautiful site I thought I had ever seen. The only problem was that when I went to turn on the ads, it converted horribly, like under 1% conversion rate from Facebook, which is terrible. Then after like a day or two of tweaking the ads, I finally shut them off because they were performing so poorly. And I was like, what is going on? Like, why is the conversion rate this low? And more specifically, it wasn't just the conversion rate, it was the add to cart rate. It was extremely low, which anytime the add to cart rate is extremely low, that's a sign that something is off with your website in general, or your prices, or people just don't like your products. But as low as it was for us, something is really wrong. And what I realized was, after diving into the analytics, was that 80+% of our traffic was coming from mobile. Think about that. 8 out of 10 people, sometimes over 8 out of 10, were on an iPhone or an Android. And then when I looked at our website on my laptop, I was like, it looks great. I don't understand the issue. And then I pulled it out on my phone and realized that the theme I had chosen was completely dog crap on mobile. Like the buttons were all out of place, like the fonts were too big, the product pictures took up the entire screen, and people had to scroll and scroll in order to get to the add to cart call to action buttons. And I realized when I went into the theme editor that in the top right hand corner, there's a button that you should be using anytime you're making changes to your theme now. And that is the toggle switch between desktop and mobile. Now, the big mistake that I see people making is they take what Shopify gives them, which is the desktop view by default, and they only work on that. And they think, that's what I'm working on. That's what matters most. And it's a logical line of thinking. But the problem is realizing that you are not your shopper. Your shopper is somebody who is scrolling on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, and they're on their phone. And then when that person clicks on your ad to go to your website, they're not magically jumping over to a laptop. They're still on their phone. So it needs to be mobile optimized, and desktop almost doesn't matter. So now we optimize for mobile first and desktop later. The third mistake I see people making is one of the most common questions that I get when it comes to advertising. And that is, where should we be sending the traffic? Should it go to the homepage, the collection page, the product page? What's the right answer? And after split testing this ad nauseum for hundreds of thousands of dollars of spend, I can very confidently say that for most store types, stores that have a broader collection, not like single product stores, driving traffic to your collection page is by far the best. Now, let me tell you why. When I was running Yoga Stay, we had a collection of different yoga products, primarily t-shirts when we first launched. And over time, we added in yoga mats and pants and all kinds of different yoga themed products. And when we first launched, we were driving the traffic straight to the product page. We figure somebody clicked on this shirt in the ad, they like that shirt, it makes sense to just take them right there, right? And while that did yield a fairly good conversion rate for us, the metric that really suffered was our average order value. And the average order value is so important for a variety of reasons, but especially for print on demand, because you want people to buy more than one product so that you get on the back end the benefit of cheaper shipping rates. Like, I would much rather have one person buy 10 t-shirts than 10 people buy one t-shirt. And number two, if your average order value is higher and your conversion rate is steady, you will be getting a much better ROAS in the ad. Like, that's just basic math. It's like your cost per click equals your cost per session, and then your earnings per session is your conversion rate and your average order value. You could have a sky high conversion rate, but if your average order value is super low, then it's not really worth much. And the problem with driving people to the product page was that while they did buy the shirt that they came there for or the product that they came there for, they pretty much bought that and nothing else. Like, they weren't really aware that we had all these like cross sells and upsells that, they might be interested in, because they were just seeing the main product page. So now what we do is we drive traffic to the collection page, where 9 times out of 10, the product that they're looking for is towards the top of the collection anyway. So they see that product, but then they see all these other like complementary products that they're also interested in. So they'll go to that product, they'll add it to cart, and then they'll either go back out to the collection page and keep shopping because they know that those products are there, or they will scroll down and look through like the frequently bought together and recommended products far more frequently than they would when they were just getting dropped right on the product page. So when they get dropped right there, they see the product, they see the checkout, they just complete the process. What we want them to do is keep buying, keep shopping, and be aware of everything we have. And even if they don't buy then, we also notice a meaningful bump in our like email and retargeting sequences because people were aware of all the other products that we had. Which is a perfect segue into the fourth mistake I see people making, and that is the size of their product catalog. Now, especially for print on demand sellers, there's absolutely no reason why your store should not be packed, filled with as many designs as you can humanly or AI crank out. And the reason for that is that the more products you have, the better chance you have of driving sales. Because if there's something for everybody to buy when they land on your website, then it's just a better situation. And one of the most common questions that I get is, how many products do we need? And the the real answer is as many as you can come up with. Like, I wish that I could be launching 10,000 designs a day if it was humanly possible. And an easy way to realize that this is true is to think of the inverse of a shopper coming to your store, picture a brick and mortar store, and the shelves are pretty much empty aside from like 3 products. Do you think that shopper is going to have a better chance of buying compared to if they walk into a store of, say, 300 products? Probably. So the lack of a sizable product catalog is a huge mistake, especially with how well Facebook's catalog and Advantage Plus campaigns have been performing. Like, those campaign types thrive off of having large product catalogs. And if you just have 4 or 5 products, then you're really hamstringing the algorithm's ability to help you out. And it's also a much less attractive collection page to be landing on. And the 5th mistake that I see a lot of beginner Shopify stores making, and I did myself when I was getting started, is just selling bad products. Now, I know this doesn't sound like a Shopify specific hack or optimization, but it bears including because of the obvious and inextricable impact that it has on a Shopify store's ability to perform. And I myself fell into the trap early on in my career of thinking that if I optimized the crap out of my Shopify store, if I had the best looking store, I had the best ads, then I could sell anything. As long as I followed those steps and I plugged in all the add-ons and extensions and did all the right colors, then it would start selling. Which, when you get down in the weeds and you're really looking at the minutia and like the sliders and like the hex codes, it can be very easy to start thinking that way. And that's why I included this point at the very end of this video, is to serve as a reminder that at the end of the day, all of the Shopify optimizations and ad optimizations, what really matters is what you are selling to people. And if nobody wants the product that you were offering, then it doesn't matter how great your store is. And as a bonus point, it doesn't matter how great your ads are. And one of my favorite sayings to this day that helped me really lock this in and understand it is that great products can be sold by terrible ads, but terrible products cannot be sold by great ads. So by and large, you need to keep in mind the 10,000 foot view, the holistic vision of what you're building, and constantly be asking yourself, am I building something that people would actually want within reason, as much as you can know? Because you could have an amazing opportunity in a store and you could have a terrible opportunity. You could put equal amounts of effort and optimization into both of them, and they're obviously going to yield drastically different results. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to join the free school community for store reviews and additional content like this. I'm pretty active in there. So click the link below if you want to join that. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.